You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken.
And I'm Sam Alisea.
And on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating.
But flawed.
And we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then, we can celebrate movies that did it on their own, too.
You can find us at CertainPOV.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.
Mitch and Elizabeth are getting married. We're getting hitched.
We're getting hitched.
There will be no less than 3 things that go wrong, one of which will be major.
And you're not going to be attending unless you're on the list.
Biggest air quotes possible, because perfect is an illusion.
That's right. Mitch and Elizabeth are getting married, and we are 8 weeks away from the wedding. We have my good friend Case from the Certain POV network and his fiance Carter, who I'm meeting today. This is great because they are in almost the exact same boat as us. They are. I believe your date is about a month before ours, right?
Yeah, now, because our date initially was May of 2020. We've had a few false starts on that one.
Yeah, that's going to happen, or that would happen during a pandemic. Yeah, luckily for us, ours was always October of 2021. Like after we got engaged, we decided that, and it turned out really well for us.
I got proven right.
Very lucky.
Yeah, no, I got proven right, despite both of our mothers and most of our family being like, "Why are you going to take so long? Why are you taking so long? Get married." And I'm like, "No, October 21. That's where we're at."
You're like, actually, I'm psychic. This is when it's going to be right.
Yeah, I don't regret the first pushback because that made sense. I just regret that we didn't make the leap to push back to our eventual date of September 2021 initially, because we were like, oh, it's only going to be like maybe September of 2020 will be fine, and then we pushed to May of 2021. We're still not comfortable. No one's vaccinated yet. Oh, okay. Well, and then our vendors were like, literally, this is the last time.
Well, so that's a really good question because I know that a lot of people have been dealing with it. Did you guys get to keep your venue and all your vendors, or because I know everybody's now double booking up and.
Yes.
For the most part. We had like one or two things that we had to adjust. Like Matt Storm was going to be our DJ for the initial date, also from Certain Point of View. And unfortunately, with the shifting, that wasn't going to be able to work. And so, fortunately, DJ number 2 we've kept.
Yeah, I mean, luckily everybody else shifted with us. So we're same venue, same... Really everybody else. The only thing we ran into is like the last time that we were making the shift, which I absolutely understand because these are all like small businesses, you know? And so they're kind of like, we get it. We're trying to be flexible, but also like, this is hard for us. So we paid some of them sooner than we usually would have, just to like, as a show of good faith to say like, no, this is for real. It's happening. And like, we had a vendor who gave us like a deal on something. And I said like, I'll pay for that now, you know? So I think it's hard because like, as difficult as it is for couples like to deal with this, like it's been so hard for like the wedding industry, so we're trying to be like understanding about that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I want to know also about your guests. So like, did you already have invites going out for the original date and then having to push it back? Because one of Elizabeth's bridesmaids, she originally was supposed to be part of one wedding last year.
October 10th, 2020.
October 10th, 2020. And then they canceled theirs, and they're going to have it on October 8th, 2021 now.
They're having it on October 9th.
That's right. They're having it on October 9th, 2021.
So she is a
same as us.
bridesmaid in 2 weddings now on the exact same day, which was not the initial case when she said yes. So I am thankful. I lucked out.
So is she going to be in both, or...
Kind of. So when the 2020 last year, that wedding kind of obviously couldn't occur, they still did a distanced on the beach, very small ceremony. that she partook in. So she is going for the rehearsal and the Friday night stuff for their now full wedding, and she'll be at our wedding. She and her partner are going to be driving from San Diego, where that wedding is, to Phoenix the morning of our wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So she's going to come flying in on a car.
But I'm very thankful to get her.
I mean, I've been there.
Yeah, that's a true friend. That's somebody who's like committed.
Who's gonna be there. Yeah, no, it's definitely fantastic. But yeah, what about your guests? Have anybody ended up with a conflict?
We haven't heard from it this round. So we actually got a little lucky, which is that we had bought the invitations, but we hadn't sent them out when the pandemic kind of hit last time. So we have this whole box of poorly dated invitations that we can't use anymore. And we just finalized the amended list because, we're certain family members, there are more kids, which I know you guys have dealt with as well.
Oh yes, yes.
Her sister had a baby. My cousins, both of them have had babies in the interim. So,
and there's to be honest, there's a couple people where now I'm looking at the list and I'm like, you know what, we haven't really talked that much this year, and it was somebody who was on the baby list before, and so I don't feel as much pressure to invite them because you can always say, well, COVID, we couldn't have as many people as we wanted.
Keeping it small. Yep. Yeah, we haven't gotten away with that.
Not yet. I think I'm definitely feeling like that's going to be something I'm going to have to use, especially for people at work.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Seeing
I
as
know.
people just keep inviting themselves to our wedding.
People are inviting themselves to our wedding. Is that happening to you too?
I thought if they weren't on the list, they weren't going.
Nope.
It hasn't happened yet, but I think we'll see. Honestly, if anybody's friends are going to invite themselves, it's going to be this guy's.
That's true.
But I think also we were talking about this earlier today. I think in some ways it's been a little bit of a blessing in disguise because I'm a very planner type of person, and so Case and I actually got legally married in 2018.
Hooray.
And so we've been legally married for a little bit, and not everybody knew about that because we just didn't want to offend anybody to say why weren't we included. But the reason we got married in 2018 is because his grandfather was ill and old, and we really wanted him to be able to be there, and so we made a choice to do it in a living room so he could be there, and we're really glad that he did because he's not here with us anymore.
Yeah.
But we still want to have this wedding, and so we were planning it for May of 2020, and then I think my instincts of wanting to plan and control freak everything, the fact that we've had to reschedule 3 times, it just calmed me down. I'm like, it's going to happen. It's going to be wonderful. There's so many things that are outside of anybody's control. And so I think it just helped us prioritize and focus on what really matters.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt that we have started the planning process over multiple times so that we got to go through that stress a bunch of times. And at this point now, we, like a baby doomsday murdered on Krypton a million times, we're immune.
See, the funny thing is that knowing that you have
that is exclusively for Mitch. I'm sorry.
That was exclusively for me. But I was going to say, for a person who has a theater, background, I figured you would go with dress rehearsals and tech week and stuff like that. No, you went straight to death of baby doomsday. So
I mean, that feels more appropriate for what we've been going through the last year and a half.
That's fair.
I also just told on a show this week the worst dress rehearsal story ever, and I figured I should just let that one sit, and if people want, go check out the Another Pass on Terminator 3 episode.
Look at this cross promotion. It's like
so much
professional podcast.
Oh, don't worry. I was on one of his shows this week too. I did the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So what we like to talk about on this show is traditions. So what traditions are you all including into your wedding?
What are we including?
If any.
That's a good question, because I think
is it easier to ask, what aren't you doing?
Because there are some things that we are not doing.
Because
yes.
I always find it more entertaining to find out which wedding tradition you absolutely hate.
Yes. And can I time out real quick? I hear a lag, and I just want to make sure that's not going to screw the recording up.
No, because they'll have to sync it.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to double check that. Okay.
Mitch will have to edit this part out, but just your like the video is like a couple seconds ahead, which makes sense because we have Bluetooth. So.
Oh, your guys' video is actually is a couple seconds ahead too. Yeah.
So
okay, yeah,
okay,
it's fine.
Just wanted to check. Okay. So we'll clean break.
All right, yeah. So for me, I have a complicated relationship with religion. I went to Catholic school, and like there's stuff.
Same.
So I don't really feel comfortable having that as being part of my service. So I like her sister is going to be the one or the officiant for us, and that's good. I don't want to do like a big church service. It feels weird. Like my sister is doing one at the church at my high school, which is like a weird kind of vibe.
Well,
so,
and let's just clarify. So Case's sister is getting married about 1 month before us.
Wow.
So it's interesting to like compare the two together. So she's having full Catholic mass at a very ornate Catholic chapel, like, all marble and gilt. And we're having like a ceremony that we like wrote with my sister outside under trees.
Yeah. Yeah, we, like very early on, I was like, I would like to do like a beach wedding. Like I want it to be laid back. I want it to feel like relaxed and comfortable, and in a way that like so many ones I've been to just did not feel.
Yeah.
Well, I will say.
Yeah, and I would just say from.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I will say that, like, from my perspective, because I've been to a lot of weddings and a lot of Catholic weddings, because I also went to a Catholic high school. Your ceremony is going to be much more enjoyable. The whole mass for me is always like I'm like, what? I still have to be here. Like, I need snacks for this part, and if I need snacks for a wedding ceremony,
well,
it's
they
too
give
long.
you those little wafers, but that doesn't hold you over.
That doesn't count. No. I sneak in my baby bells or cheese sticks of some kind.
Yeah.
So,
Hold on, please. We're having a technical problem. A YouTube video just started playing, and I have no idea why. Did I touch it?
Must be.
Oh, okay, sorry. These headphones, I guess, if you touch them. Sorry. I was like, what's going on?
I am so glad to know I'm not
Please
the
edit
only
this,
one
man.
who does that kind of stuff.
This is all going in.
I'm so sorry, because I know how hard the editing is, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's really okay. But you were about to say something before a second ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, I was just going to say, yeah, I think like for a few reasons, like one, which is like, we're like in our mid 30s. I don't know if we talked about this at the beginning. Case and I have been together for 13 years. So like, this is a surprise to nobody that we're getting married. Everybody's like, oh my God, thank God, finally. And so I think there's like a few things that are kind of different as a result. And it's also like, when you actually like think about weddings, it's like some like patriarchy bullshit too. And so there's a lot of things that we are not cool with about together. Like we're definitely not cool with. And I also have a very complicated relationship with my dad. And so I think there's a few things there that we're like, like I don't want to do a father-daughter dance. We're definitely not doing a garter situation. And we actually decided pretty early on to not officially do bridal parties. So like to not have bridesmaids and groomsmen that like all have to buy matching outfits, because we were like, we want everybody to be there. We have both been in a bunch of weddings, which was great and we enjoyed, but we also are like, it's kind of annoying to have to like do all of that. And so we want people to really enjoy themselves. So we are kind of paring those pieces back. So it actually, like, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like sounds super non-traditional, but I'm still having, don't listen to this part, cover your ears, a very traditional dress, which was a big surprise to me. And, like, so there's some classic wedding stuff too. So it's not like we're totally like down on weddings.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, we wanted to make sure we had one because we
had a wedding.
Well, yeah, a proper wedding. So like we as Carter said, we've been together for a really long time. We met in New York and we were living together in New York, and then we moved down to the DC area. And when we moved, my aunt was like, "You did that to get out of common law, huh?" And we were like, "Ha ha!" And then we're like, "Wait a second!" And we like looked it up, and we were like a month away.
Common law marriage, because we lived together so long.
I was going to say, there are a few more steps to common law other than just living with each other, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different from state to state. So, like, when like we looked it up for New York, and it was like, okay, just like cohabitating.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like literally the same room.
Oh, really? Is that what it says?
That was like part of it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, anyway, so long story short, I think there are a bunch of things like things that we are changing to make it feel true to us and to make it feel like modern, but also like, you know, there's a lot to love. Like, I think there's something special about saying vows that are similar to things that like thousands of people have said for thousands of years. It's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So what are the parts of the wedding planning that you have had the most fun doing?
The most fun doing? Well, I mean, I think probably picking the venue was the most fun part for me. Like we found a spot that we really liked out in Delaware, at the Delaware beaches, so that like it actually got to fit like my criteria. But you know, we looked at like a lot of stuff in the area. We even like sort of like looked online at like a little more distant kind of locations. And there were plenty of ones that were like beautiful. That like there was one restaurant had this gorgeous like barn aesthetic. It was like a converted farm. You know, really great spots to like look at and like, you know, just like it's kind of like when you're buying a house. You're like, ooh, this could be this room and this could be that thing. You know, like, you know, it's like, okay, I can see my guests like enjoying themselves here. So all of that like kind of speculating and like that fun sort of theory crafting of it all was like really fun. But then after that, like, she's really good at the planning stuff.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I think it's been hard for me to not just, like, be a control freak and to, like, do it all. And we talked a lot about this, too. Like, we want an equitable marriage and life together. And so, like, I need to, like, trust and delegate, you know, and not just, like, do everything. So.
I understand that struggle.
But also, if she comes to me and she says, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
But if she comes to me and says, I think this is a good idea, I'll be like, okay, cool, I trust you. And, like, I won't realize that was, like, an invite for me to have, like, input. I would be like, oh.
Feminist wedding struggles. It's hard.
Yeah. No, I've been very thankful. Mitch took over several. He's just like, I'm just going to do this portion. I'm just going to, I'm going to go do this. Okay, great. I'm just going to ignore that exists then. Just tell me when it's done.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I mean, I kept putting together like the different things that her and her mother and her dad had been saying, and like, and I know she's got a lot. She's already working on so many other things. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to take care of the rehearsal dinner. I'm going to take care of the band, and take care of
our dance lessons,
yeah, because we need to know how to dance if we're going to do our first dance. I guess it probably makes it a good idea.
So
yeah, that's great.
Do you already have your first dance picked out? Your song? You don't have to say it. I just want to know if you do.
We haven't actually. I mean, we have ideas because we have like songs that were like our songs, but I don't think we've actually like told the DJ this is going to be our song yet.
And I'm a big music person, so it's like. It's hard. It's hard for me because I think we have, to your point, Case, we have songs that are kind of like our type of songs. Not all of them are good like to dance to though. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to pick a song that like everybody picks. Like I remember a few years ago, we had one of those years where all of our friends were getting married. And literally 3 of your friends all had the exact same wedding song the same year. And it's a great song. It's This Must Be the Place, which is a great song. Yeah. But 3 people in the same year had the same song. And I was like, I know. I'm like, oh, it's such a good song. So.
Yeah.
And the first time,
I've definitely heard that one a few times as well.
Yeah. And it's hard because it's like, just because multiple people picked it doesn't make it less meaningful to those people. But I don't know. I went to school for music, though I like don't do anything with that degree, but I have a degree in that. So like, I don't know why it's like important to me to have a special. Like nobody else picked this one.
Oh no, it makes complete sense to me.
We have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
What's the part of the ceremony that you're most looking forward to, other than being together, being married, or I guess reception, not ceremony?
The reception. So I have an answer for that. So we decided early on that we had been to a couple of like really awesome, like over the top weddings, like way more over the top than ours is going to be, where there was like special late night stuff that was brought in. So we were like, oh, that would be so cool. And so the part I'm actually most looking forward to is we have arranged already with our venue to have late night snacks come out within the last hour of the reception. So there's going to be like mini sliders and warm chocolate chip cookies. And like, you know, like we're like pretty budget conscious. We're paying for our own wedding. this was not that expensive to add on, and I'm just excited because I feel like, having been a guest at many weddings, I love when people do something like that, because it's like you've been dancing, you want a little something on your way out of the party, and like to just, you know, keep the vibe going. So the snacks is my most exciting part.
No
and
judgment
also
here.
Marrying my husband.
Absolutely no judgment here. Mitch was like, I have to have a wedding
Now
band.
he's gonna probably say something really sweet. Yeah. It's like you realize the things that matter having gone to other weddings, and it's like, I feel like that's also really good wedding advice that I received, which is like, decide what's important and don't worry about everything else.
Exactly.
See, for me, I have actually like a little more sinister one. I
gosh.
was thinking of.
Sinister.
Sinister might not be the right word. So I've got two best friends who are like wonderful guys from different points in my life, like my childhood best friend and then my college roommate. And
They have thought about who is more of a best friend.
yes. So,
thought about
and
this.
while I don't try to encourage that normally, they have very different oratory styles, and I'm very curious what they're going to say.
Oh, are they both doing speeches?
Yeah.
Oh my, that's gonna be interesting.
And this is like not the like I can't wait to see who's better, but I'm like very curious because like they're just so different. Like to see like what's going to happen, and like I don't normally try to like praise on myself, but like this will be like kind of fascinating to see what stands out to these two very different individuals.
It's gonna be funny.
Especially because I've been at other weddings where both of them have had to speak before, and so I've seen what it sounds like, and I'm like kind of curious how they'll do it this time.
Maybe they'll surprise you and try and do it jointly.
That would be nice.
It would only be a little bit of a surprise, though, because I've seen one of those.
At least one of them is going to do a roast.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like guaranteed, it's going to be a roast.
Oh yeah.
So are you opening it up to open speeches?
Oh no.
Thank you.
I mean, we haven't actually like talked about it, but no.
No.
You're saying Yeah.
We've seen.
We've been to weddings where that happened and was weird.
Yeah.
See, I'm not alone in this.
I think it's hard. I mean, are you all thinking about opening it up? But I think the thing that's difficult is that usually speeches happen after people have had a few drinks, right? And then everybody has a different way to approach it. Are you very sincere? Do you make it funny? Is it a full roast? And we've been to weddings where it was like the toast just went on and on and on and on.
Yep. I think my most painful are the ones where they just stand up there and cry because they've had just enough to drink where they can't actually form words. They just stand up there and cry and just repeat, I love you, and then like cry the entire time. Usually for a solid 3 to 4 minutes before somebody shuffles them off the stage.
Right. And it's the other one that we've been to is where usually a groomsman or a best man, it's usually a guy who does this, right? Who they're like, they've pre-written these jokes that they think are so funny. And it's like, I remember that one time at the frat party. And it's like, nobody's grandma wants to hear this story. Like, it's not as funny as it was when you were 19. Like, save that for like the private roast that happens during the bachelor party, during the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Mitch is on me because I'm like, no, I don't care. You don't have to look at the piece of paper, but anybody who's going to give a speech has to have something written out. They have to have a piece of paper, and we have to predetermine who's going to speak because I'm not going to do any day of, well, I want to give a toast. I don't care. Because the amount of people who are
sorry about that.
I say the amount of people who are like, I'll just wing it. And I'm like, nobody wings it well. I speak for a profession. These two speak for profession. Like, nobody really wings it well. You usually have some direction, bullet points, thought process going into it. Don't wing it for me, particularly after you've had a few.
No. Yeah. Well, and what I was going to mention is like, without getting into too much detail, I said earlier I have a complicated relationship with my dad. my sister, case sips drink. A couple years ago, my sister got married, and she was the first. I have two sisters. She was the first of all of us to get married, and so, we have divorced parents, complicated relationships. So she, trailblazed that, figured out those dynamics for us. She had said, "Here's who's going to give the toast. This is the schedule. Nobody else." Just like you're saying. Well, my dad stood up and said, "I've got something to say."
Oh, no.
And I was the maid of honor. And so I was like in front of everybody trying to be like, "Are you sure? Like, I don't know. This isn't on the schedule." And he was like, I would like to speak. It's my daughter's wedding. And I said, "Just let me check and see." And I went to my sister and I was like, "Dad wants to talk. And what do you want to do?" And she was like, "Honestly, just let it happen. Just let it happen." So my dad gets up in front. We give him the microphone and he says, "I have written a poem that I will read." Ooh. And we were all like, "What?" So
Case's face is probably the best part of the story.
I don't really remember the content of the poem. Yeah. But Case, knows the history, knew the complexity and the weirdness of this situation. My dad has decided in his current age that he is a writer, and this is a new thing for him. So that's why he wanted to read the poem. So anyway, long story short, he gets up. It's about an 8-minute poem that he reads, that he's written, that was on a tiny piece of paper all folded up in his jacket. And it was about, you are a woman now, and this is a new world and a new life, like a flower blooming. And we were like, how much longer will this poem be? So your faces right now, that was probably most of the reception, at least the family members who knew him in the situation. Everybody else was just very politely smiling and drinking during it. So anyway, all that is to say, he read his poem. We said, "Thank you." We moved on to the next person and we did not speak about it again. So, you got to roll with it. And my sister, at least to her credit, was like, "It's going to happen. And it would be weirder if I tried to tell him don't talk now that he stood up in front of everybody." So, unexpected things happen. But that's families, and every family has odd people and odd situations, and I think it's I've realized that now going to weddings and extended family weddings, it's we have to give each other the grace that a wedding is a big deal for more than just the couple, and sometimes people want to do strange things during it.
Yeah, and my takeaway on that one was the wild cards are going to be wild cards. We might as well anticipate them and set it up to draw them out. So get your dad in position a little bit on the earlier side.
I was gonna say kudos to your sister to making that decision and putting him in the middle of the toasts as opposed to at the end or the beginning. Kudos to her to be we'll just sandwich him in the middle. It'll be fine. Everybody forgets that part.
Exactly. Yes, it was very, very smart of her the way she handled it.
So, knowing Case and now getting to know Carter, is there any geeky things that are being thrown into the wedding reception or ceremony? Because we have a few of our own.
We're actually
lots.
Yeah, we're actually not going that geeky on ours. I was thinking about maybe doing something if we had a more traditional groomal party, but we're not.
Groomal party.
My brother-in-law did. We got a Justice League themed socks for everyone. So Mitch, I see you have a Green Lantern pop socket right now. I had the Green Lantern socks, and I was yeah, dope. All right, Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, every groomsman had a different Marvel superhero socks at my sister and brother-in-law's wedding.
Right, but because we don't really have that formal kind of structure, I can't hide that kind of thing because there's nothing more fun for me than sneaking a geek reference in, but still looking formal.
Well, but what about I don't know if you're still going to do this, but originally when we were planning this wedding a year and a half ago, there was talk about doing something cool during your bachelor party, doing a special game.
But that's been so shifted around. That is the weird one, which is that the bachelor party, we had this whole planned out thing pre-pandemic, and then now some people don't have their shots yet. It's
some people have babies now. It's a little bit different. Yeah.
So it's probably going to end up being much more just we're going to go and hang out and relax for a weekend kind of thing.
Well, and so what I was mentioning is like there was talk originally of one of your friends was like, I want to do a special Dungeons and Dragons game for the bachelor party, which would have been cool. Or another thing we talked about, I don't think we're gonna actually do this, but something I read about that I thought was interesting was, so Case is very into D&D. I have played a little bit, but I'm not nearly on his level. But I did read something cute that I have heard of some other couples doing, which is the dice rolling for the kiss thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I've read, so there's like a couple of cool, like non-traditional wedding sites that I follow. Like there's one that's called Offbeat Bride, for example. And what's nice is it's like super inclusive and it's like, you know, like really weddings can be like the full gamut of just celebrating the couple and their love. And so something I thought was cute that I was telling Case about recently was like some couples have done something where they, instead of just the like, you know, your fork against a glass to get the couple to kiss, they had a 20-sided D&D die on the head table. And so they had a little sign and it was like, roll for a kiss. And if you roll a high number, the couple will give like increasingly passionate kisses. And if you roll a really low number, the person who rolls has to kiss somebody else, which I thought was really funny.
Yes, no, they're fantastic. And they make blow-up dice for this purpose so that they can be really big without...
very cute.
Without threatening damage when somebody tries to roll it.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to this. Like, I think we're at different levels of like geek culture, but like, I'm not opposed to doing something like that. I think it's important that the wedding reflect everybody. Your dogs are really cute, by the way.
Thank you. They just decided to come up and say hi to everybody. Well, I just wanted to say thank you. Like, it's great to get to talk to another couple that is on this journey concurrently. Like, it's been cool. So thank you. Thank you for both coming on.
Yeah. It's been really fun, like, listening to this show and sort of, like, kind of tracking it along. Because at first it was like, well, at first we were so far ahead. And it's like, okay, well, now we're pacing ourselves at about the same clip. Okay, cool.
Sounds all right.
And I've often joked that Mitch is sort of like the West Coast version of me, in that, and likewise that CPOV versus Geek Elite are like, you know, we're similar kind of shows, and both Mitch and I do too much.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Podcast too much. So it's been like fun to be like, oh yeah, and also he's going through the same kind of like weird world and has a just as equally exasperated of a future wife.
Do we seem exasperated, Carter? I don't feel like we're exasperated just because we're drinking. I feel like we're getting judged.
No. I think drinking is a necessary part of the wedding planning process.
Thank you.
What is one piece of advice that someone has given you, though, throughout the whole wedding planning process that you really enjoyed or really respected or have taken to heart?
I don't know. I probably took too much to heart, being like, it's her day, let her make up her mind.
I don't agree with that.
But, you know, I feel like a lot of the advice that we've gotten have been from family members who wanted a more traditional kind of wedding, and have been things where it's like, no, but like for us, we want to do our own thing.
Yeah, and I think that to contrast that, the advice we've gotten from friends who've gotten married in the last few years was really kind of what I said earlier about like, decide what matters the most to you and focus on that, and everything else matters less. Like, for example, like favors don't matter to me. So we just decided we're not going to do them. We'd rather like reinvest that money in like giving people a great experience during the night. You know, and I think so like we care about the food, the fact that like it's an evening that flows, that maybe there's additional activities over the weekend, that it's really a special time where we get to see like all of our friends and family at the same time, which is so special. And focusing on that and less about like it being like a picture perfect, you know, because like things will go wrong. So like things are going to go wrong. We know that. And we're just going to kind of like roll with it, which for me is difficult, but I'm open to this.
Case, would you like to give out? Oh,
How about you?
Oh, our advice?
I was going to say, how about let's flip the table, because like we're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, what's your advice? Because, you know, we're like a month earlier. So what's your best advice?
With our impending nuptials.
I think the best advice I got was, if at the end of the day the two of you are married, it's been successful. And to kind of, because I'm with you, Carter.
The whole thing can be canceled. We're good.
I'm like, it all has to be perfect. It has to be just right. Like, I need to plan. Like, I need to have contingencies on the contingencies. Like, we have plans A through G in case anything goes wrong.
Yep.
And, you know, my mother continually just looks at me and she goes, if at the end of the day, you and Mitch are married, it was a success. The rest of it doesn't matter.
I think the best advice that I've really taken to heart since we started the process and then also doing the podcast is Elizabeth's friends, Nicole and Adam, told us that just make sure to thank each other. Just thank each other for whatever it is that you do. Like, just show that you appreciate the other person. And that has been a big deal to me. Like, now we say thank you for just about everything. Like, it makes me feel better saying it and also having it be said to me. So I hope it's the same for Elizabeth.
Yes. No, absolutely. More marriage advice than wedding advice.
True.
But yeah.
True.
But I think that's a good way to think about it. Like, Case, when you just said a few minutes ago, like, whatever Carter wants, like, I disagree with that because I think at the end of the day, what we're building is a marriage, not just a wedding, right?
Yeah.
And so it's important that we think about, like, at the end of the day, I think it's also because, like, also we are legally already married and have been, right? But it's also that, you know, it's important that we think about the type of marriage we want to have, the type of partnership we want to have, and, like, bring that spirit through. Because if I'm a bridezilla and it's like a beautiful fairy tale princess day, like, that isn't what Case necessarily wants, although maybe that's what he wants. But, you know, it's important that it be about both of us. I don't really want a fairy tale princess day either. Wait till you see my dress.
Oh.
I was say I want a text of the dress. I need an image.
Yeah. Okay, I will send that to you.
We'll have to have the two of you, like, exchange contacts.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Case, would you like to throw out your brand one more time?
My brand. Sure. So as we have alluded to several times, and I've shamelessly promoted myself before, I am a podcaster with CertainPOV, which is a similar kind of podcast network to Geek Elite. When I say similar, like, we've got some fairly one-to-one shows on there, and we've been happy to cross guests. I am the host of Another Pass, which is a movie analysis podcast where we look at shows at movies that we found either fascinating but flawed, or sometimes we look at movies that could have been derailed very easily and then actually course corrected. So we try to either speculate on what could have been fixed, or we revel in the movies that actually fix themselves. So by the time this is coming out, our episode on Groundhog's Day will be coming out, which, man, that was a great movie that also Harold Ramis and Bill Murray never talked to each other after that until right before they died, or before
Harold Ramis died. Yeah.
I am also the host of Men of Steel, which is a Superman appreciation podcast. It's Superman adjacent, so we did, like, months and months on Wonder Woman stuff, but it's just, like, fun to, like, kind of talk about that sort of, like, romantic, like, altruistic kind of hero archetype. So that's been a lot of fun to do. And I am the Dungeon Master for Scruffy Nerf Herders, which is our Star Wars D&D game that is on a small break right now between mini campaigns, but we'll be picking up soon, and that's a lot of fun. You can find that at CertainPOV.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Case Aiken.
And I have nothing to promote, but I am here to support Case, and I will say I'm behind the scenes helping to provide a female perspective on some of the critique that you do. So.
We appreciate you.
I usually subject her to all, like, the bad movies that we have to watch, and then she'll be like, well, these are all the things that I found problematic. Right. And I'll be like, oh, that's a good thing.
Let's talk about the Bechdel test. Yeah, exactly. Similarities.
It's so similar.
East Coast, West Coast. It's great.
It really is. We're gonna have to meet in the middle somewhere just so that we can all be on neutral ground.
I mean, I got a list of options.
I look forward, now that things are getting safer, I look forward to coming out to Arizona at some point. So
sounds good. Don't come till after October when it cools down again. October to April is a solid choice.
Oh yeah, no, No, Arizona is the only place I've ever been where it actually like hurt to go outside. Not just like was like, oh, this is uncomfortable, but like I felt like I had a life meter that was ticking down because I was in Mesa in July, and that was a bad choice.
To be fair, though, I have
no.
I've been in DC.
Not to mention, I mean, you guys.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you have something very important in October that you're focusing on. So like once that's over. Maybe like a regroup on like, you know, we'll do a post-mortem on the wedding situation.
I love that.
I like that. A recovery from the honeymoon.
Podcast analysis. How did it go?
Yeah.
Was it how did you expect it?
That's how we justify it. # content.
Write it off the taxes. Yeah, I was going to say, I have, however, been in DC in August, and that is also brutally miserable. So
terrible. It's a city on a swamp. It's terrible.
But that's muggy, and you're like, oh, I'm annoyed that I'm doing this right now. Versus, like I said, the life meter. So it's two different kinds of bad.
You don't sweat out here because it's all a dry heat, so you don't have to change your clothes as much.
I sweat. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've heard of this dry heat. I've heard of it.
It's all because the water is now dried up inside of you. It's so hot. Okay, so you can find me on Twitter. I'm at MitchPedia, GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Elizabeth can be found with the rest of Geek Elite Media at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out our website, geekelitemedia.com, for archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network. I want to say, I hope the two of you have a great wedding and also a great 3-year anniversary. So, congratulations.
Likewise, excited to hear, the rest of your wedding planning and to how it all goes in October.
Thank you.
And if we can actually make this work out, sign out with us. All you have to do is say geek out after I say always remember to. But until next time, this is Geeking to the Chapel on the Geek Elite Media Network saying always remember to
geek out.
This concludes our broadcast.